Go live!
Welcome back to the WatchTower Film Podcast, the film review podcast on the Towercast Network. By cinephiles, for cinephiles. Woo! Welcome back. If you're joining us, you have just wrapped up our animation month with us, and we had a blast, man. We had Zach Passero on the show.
That was such an inspiring episode.
It was a very inspiring episode. It was
I
really
learned movies.
Yeah, right?
Oh, and
animation.
And animation.
And, you know, go back, check them all out.
What'd you think about his pick, Carlos?
It was a really great pick. Very unconventional.
Yeah.
I dug it.
And
Dude,
the fact
I'm hoping
that
people can
honestly,
find it to watch it.
I kind of
Yeah,
expected
it might be
his
rough.
pick.
Might be rough on the find.
Just who he is, you know?
Yeah, Zach did great, and he always does great things, always working on cool
Hey,
stuff.
What'd you think of my Defoe beginning there?
Defoe!
You just
You know,
ignored
from-
his lovely Defoe
Yeah.
beginning.
That was my Defoe impression from Saturday night.
Wow. Look at their faces. Look at their faces. They're all like,
Oh,
cool.
yeah. I'm remembering this. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That scene when they're like in the room and they're
haven't
looking at the
seen it
tapes
yet.
going, they're like going back and forth
They
And there's
got
a
Johnny
chair.
Carson just waiting
on the
That's
fucking phone,
fucked
right? That
up.
was so good.
Yeah, there's a
You need to
mic.
watch Saturday night. It was great.
I need to.
Kicking off today, we're kicking off a new theme this month. We're kicking off a new genre, if you will, for the podcast.
For you old
Something
heads,
we
new
haven't
heads.
necessarily done this consistently before, or at least like dedicated a whole month to it, which I'm really excited about. And thankfully, the guys were kind enough to indulge me to curate the whole month because I was really excited just to show them so many films. This series rather on the podcast is our foreign/international film month. So we're going to be covering a bunch of 4 or 5 foreign international films.
Yeah,
Non-English.
Non-English speaking films, yeah. So from kind of different eras, I was trying to be...
Wait, so we're not doing an English film?
No, we're not. Like a British film?
Would you
Yeah, I
ever
thought you were
consider
considering
like
one.
or an
I
Irish
was.
film?
I am. I don't know.
I think you should.
Maybe.
dude. I don't know. Also, selfishly, I really just want to.
What about a
It's
Canadian
really great.
film?
I just lent it to Francisco too, and he screened it. He loved it. He's got to give me my copy back.
Which one?
Let us know what you guys think. We're considering one of the films I didn't put in the schedule, but I'm tossing around is to do Red Shoes. Powell and
okay.
Pressburger's Red Shoes.
If that's the case, we got to do a double feature with
Black Narcissus.
Yeah.
Or should we save that for next year?
Maybe. I
Oh.
love Black Narcissus, man. It was really
Yeah,
good. Love Red Shoes better, but yeah. Powell
I'll
and
say
Pressburger.
that I'm excited for this month because you've always mentioned, I think it's Scorsese that says like, who is it that
Bong Joon-ho.
Bong Joon-ho, that if you can get past that the 3-inch barrier,
1 inch barrier of-
1 inch barrier,
of Subtitles.
that's what they used to call me in high school.
Oh, good. The 1 inch barrier?
Yeah, the 1 inch barrier.
1 inch monster.
That if you can get past that, then you've unlocked like a whole world of cinema.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
I think we're a lot better as far as like accepting films from like different places
Yeah.
and different stories and all that kind of stuff. But I feel like the mass audience still kind of freaks out a little bit.
Yeah. It's
We were-
rough.
We were actually talking about it. Let me open a little bag of something. You know how now AI is fucking getting better each day?
Sure.
Are you guys into,
AI.
like, if they not only did the AI, but also mimicked the mouth?
I'm not. I think
me
we need
neither.
to hold some truth. I mean, it's like we had this conversation during one of the, I think Ernest and Celestine episode where we're talking about whether dubbed or subbed, right? And how we like dubbed for certain situations, but subbed to kind of keep that original.
But what I'm
Authenticity.
saying is that now with AI, they don't have to dub it. They use the same voice of the actor. Now
I
it's just,
see.
it syncs with the
I
lips.
think it changes too much, right?
It changes
You're
too much?
changing your performance.
I think it's gonna happen. No, I'm with you now. I'm with you on that. Yeah, we should stick with the way the
I
director.
think it's possible, and it's something.
gonna happen.
You know, like
think so?
again, AI is just meant to be a tool. It's not meant to like carry the whole film. You're not
Right.
meant to like change everything. But like for a piece that maybe you want to like and sound a little bit more authentic, like we saw with what are they called, The Brutalist?
Right.
Something where in it, the native tongue, native speakers would notice a problem.
To enhance the film,
To
to
enhance
authenticate
the
it
film
better,
and
yeah.
enhance like a scene.
Yeah.
I completely am for it. I think there does become that kind of weird question. It like a sub dub.
I also think there's like a weird tradition that you lose by doing that, right?
yeah, I'm with you. I just want to hear you guys.
Preservation is a big deal when it comes to classic and foreign cinema.
Because I
so-
say this because I love the film, but I like to tell you guys,
Yeah.
I spend most of the time just reading it.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of dialogue. and I was
Yeah,
like,
of
whoa,
course.
what's going on?
But I do think like
that's-
AI
that
getting to
pops
the
in my
point
head.
where like instantaneously, I've seen like on YouTube and other places where you can get instant translations
Right.
on content that just got released, you know, where it's able to scan all the audio, interpret it, and you can get faster, better. You know.
I just feel like I
it's
see what you're
coming
saying.
sooner than
So,
later.
no, I see what you're saying, but I think that's like going to the Louvre and going and seeing the Mona Lisa and being like, what if we got brighter colors? What if we just paint over
Yeah.
the original
I think
colors of the Mona Lisa?
One of the most interesting parts about being a creative is that you have to hone your skills to like tap in. You're not supposed to be perfect. I don't think that you're ever supposed to match any kind of perfection as a creative, but
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
supposed to find your own voice, and AI rips that from your heart.
No, but no. I get what you're saying, but I'm saying that this is a tool that's gonna help people that don't necessarily read fast, don't
Yeah.
necessarily like
Yeah.
that little.
Well, yeah.
one
If
barrier.
it's practical, then
Yeah.
I'm on board
'Cause I'm
for
with you.
AI. But
Since
when
I
it comes to
started doing
creative,
Sure.
Since I started doing this podcast, yeah, I'm with the director, man.
I
The way the
also-
director, I'm with it, but
You know what's funky though about that? And
It
this
could
is,
help.
these are the kind of the last things I'll say about it before
Yeah,
we
yeah,
introduce
before
the
we
film.
start,
But it's like when it comes to dubbed versions of a film, it already gets lost in translation so
but
much.
we're talking a very criminal, like that's old school. Remember, I told you that.
No,
there's
But how
sound.
is AI going to recognize what gets lost in translation or doesn't? Humans can't even do that fucking properly.
Well, that's what I'm saying. AI is a computer. Like, they have you seen the stuff that they're doing? It's crazy, bro.
It's just also like because the biggest reason we have like the difficulties in translation is that there's certain phrasing or
Yeah.
words that don't exist in other cultures or like terminology that wouldn't exist to us. That's why like we
like
talked about on
swag
our
in English.
yeah, like no, when we talked about like
Yeah.
Spirited Away, so much of the dialogue was expositional because it needed to
Yeah.
explain
It
to
needs to
Western
set up the world.
audiences the traditions that were over there. So if you watch the dubbed and sub version,
Yeah.
one's going to be explaining, oh, these are spirits that are used for this, this, and this,
Yeah.
and then in the like subbed version, they're just having normal conversation.
Last thing I'll say about this, I promise, so like
Yeah.
on my end, but we talked about this in our Roma episode. When you have a director that is very careful about knowing who his audience is going to be, and his audience is going to be universal, right? Like Cuarón and Del Toro, they're notorious for supervising their translations to English translations. They're there for every word.
It's because I don't think you guys understand what AI is. Like, they know everything that we all know.
No, I know.
It's
Well,
not
I
like some
mean-
artificial, like,
Yeah, but instinct, right? Even when you're translating something, there's inflection. There's certain things that
but you don't think
Yeah,
AI
I do
will-
agree.
will-
I think eventually
We'll
in
match that?
10
Yeah.
years, maybe.
Yeah.
But not right now. That is
No,
true.
not
Like
right now.
even in Spanish,
But I see
like even in Spanish, there's different slang from like southern
Instinct, yeah,
Mexico compared to like norteño Mexico and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I feel like AI wouldn't be able to necessarily match those
Right.
specific details. But I do.
You're
I get what you mean.
you're
now. I do get what
underestimating
you mean.
AI, brother.
Just that translation
You really are.
factor. Like I said, Kurosawa was very mindful about what audiences he wanted to be. I saw this video recently of somebody explaining the difference between film and digital in terms of observing it, right? In terms of the intake. And basically saying like the interesting about film is like film is using an illusion. You seeing a film on celluloid, literally through a projector, is using the illusion of moving images. It's not actual moving images. So your brain, as it processes this at 24 frames a second, it's making your brain work. So you're so much more invested in the film because you're an active participant, because your brain is literally processing 24 frames a second. Actually, when you're watching digital, it tones it down. You're not working. In fact, there's something in observing digital film TV that makes you relax innately. It just makes you like
Yeah, because
tune out.
it's not
You're not working, or your
it's
brain isn't working the same
where
way.
I feel like celluloid is giving you individual stills,
Yeah.
and you're seeing basically like individual pictures every
Yeah.
time. Digital, it's working with like the
It's a stream.
pixels. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a stream.
So,
It's this, right?
if a character moves, it's not a completely new frame. It just moves those colored
Exactly.
pixels over.
So I bring that up in this scenario because I think that's kind of what I love about foreign cinema, is that it makes you be an active participant by understanding these characters on a deeper level. You have to read. You have to really like invest yourself in this world.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's why I like keeping it in its traditional language. Why do they have that inflection in that language in this way? Or like it makes you be an active participant, which I really appreciate.
Dude, building on that point,
Yeah.
the characters in this story specifically, oh my god, they all have
They become
like,
part of your tribe, right?
Exactly.
You get so
And
invested.
What
you
are
root
we
for them.
talking
That's
about?
a perfect transition to what are we watching today, Carlos?
Yeah.
We are kicking off our Foreign International Month on the WatchTower Film Podcast with Akira Kurosawa's 1954 epic Seven Samurai. We're talking about Seven Samurai today.
Hell yeah.
We kept going back and forth. I kept going into a place when you love like cinema, whether it's obscure cinema or foreign or classic cinema, that again, people who are preservationists, I can't call myself that because I don't really preserve cinema, but
In a
I have
way,
these
you're collecting
conversations.
DVDs.
Well, trying to keep it alive, right? Is kind
right.
of part of that notion.
You're actively fighting off DVD rot.
I am actively fighting off DVD rot. The
It's a
idea
real thing, bro.
behind like curating a list for somebody, that I was trying to be very careful about that. I was like even thinking like, okay, how about I just show one of the films per like great eras of cinema. We'll start with the French New Wave, and we'll go into Japanese cinema, and then we'll go into Italian neorealism, and then we'll go. Like I was like, we'll do like a little taste of each one, and we're still kind of going to do that. But I was like, you know what? We need to stop up. We need to start with a bang. We need to get.
Yeah.
The intention with Seven Samurai was Kurosawa. Literally, I think the exact wording was like, I wanted to make a film that was so entertaining you want to eat it. Like
Dude.
you have to like. You're so entertained that you want it. You know.
And look at what this film did to other features.
yeah,
Like this
yeah.
is Star Wars' daddy, dude.
Yeah, genuinely.
thing is
This and
amazing.
Hidden Fortress, but this is George Lucas's favorite film of all time, quite literally.
Well,
And
what did you consider this probably the first action
Yeah.
team up?
it's actually like it's actually
You know what I mean? Like,
it actually
let's
holds
get
that
together.
credit.
Right.
It's considered the first the first modern action film. Of
And I
cinema.
caught that when you said something about one of the action films, like, oh, look at that.
Look how they were using those cuts in
I
certain
bet you a lot-
sequences. Yeah,
yeah.
man. The really interesting thing, Lindelof, I think you'll love this before we get into ratings. Seven Samurai, in case you didn't catch these notions, I'm sure you did because of your love for them. It's a Western, really.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
know? And Kurosawa worked with, what's the name of the studio again? I'm sorry.
Toho.
Toho. Notorious for a lot of great Japanese cinema and Godzilla. And
But for copyright.
they were so worried that Western audiences, particularly American audiences, even in the 50s we were lazy, bro. They were so worried that people weren't going to stick around for a 3.5 hour picture. They cut 50 minutes out of the film to show to American distributors.
Dude, that's why I call this not only a cinematic piece,
Yeah.
but I think Kurosawa was like, this is cinematic.
The other,
Endurance
well, the
test.
other crazy
Yeah, for
part,
real.
the other crazy part about that is Japanese audiences kind
It's going down.
of fought Kurosawa, kind of like pushed back because they were like, this shit feels like Western influence, bro. Like, why does this feel so American? And it was
Yeah.
because Akira Kurosawa was a huge fan of John Ford.
Oh, really?
Huge fan of John Ford. Mad influence from John Ford. What I love about that is that between Seven Samurai and Yojimbo, another samurai film of Kurosawa's,
Jimbo.
it inspired the spaghetti westerns. So it's just feeding each other. It's just perpetually feeding each other. It's John Ford feeding Kurosawa, Kurosawa feeding Sergio Leone. And it's
Damn.
just informing each other in action films. The Magnificent Seven is notorious for being influenced by this film.
Oh, yeah. You can tell right
so
away.
these postmodern kind of westerns, anything from the 70s on, were inspired by shit like this. you know?
And you know what? It's funny
cool.
because I kept hearing the score from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, like when I would watch it, because a lot of these like team getting together and cut them off at the pass, and they're gonna come over the ridge and riding horses and this whole like bandit thing. And because I guess you see a lot of those elements in like Western films, as far as like the good guys gonna be outrun by a bunch of bandits,
Right.
and they need to like protect themselves.
And we just saw The Searchers on this podcast.
Yeah,
which-
and I mean, very, very similar vibe. And also the way that they construct the action sequences, the whole like what's really interesting is that comparing these films to like modern action movies, like let's use The Avengers for example.
Sure.
The Avengers, there's a lot of actiony moments. But they're meant to be kind of pretty. Like whenever
Sure.
you see a character fighting off an enemy, they have to do a really cool move, or they have to have like a comical beat in it, or something has to happen where it looks good while they're fighting. And with this one and older like action films, you see that it's just it almost feels factual. Like,
Sure.
like when you watch it, the characters hitting somebody off of a horse and then watching that motion or action play out, it's a lot more natural. It doesn't feel like we're trying to get the camera low and watch these like high strikes and then go down, and it's over glamorizing the action. It just lets it play out in this natural way where you as an audience member really don't know who's going to win, who's going to lose.
Right. And no pun intended, but it is a double-edged sword because it is a period piece.
Yeah.
On one side, and it's a samurai film on the other.
Yeah.
It's playing that off in like great action films. Like I like it. We were talking about The Town earlier. I liken something like Seven Samurai to influence something like The Town. Kind of more of these action-based, story-based, hopefully some character sprinkled in there. This had all of that.
I'm just adding out to the laws. I think how can I put this? I feel like some of the action films like today, it's just the big, pretty big explosions.
Sure.
And what this one did, it showed you the action, but it stayed with the reactions. And most of them, they really didn't show. Like there was one where like he's trying to with the rice cakes. You don't see what happens, but he just pops out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think I love that we stick with the reactions.
Oh,
a little bit.
yeah.
We kind of
Because they're more important. This is about a village that needs defending. It's about people who aren't qualified or trained for this situation, but they're fighting. This is their last stance. This is the last kind of frontier for them. Otherwise, they lose everything, literally.
What's up with the bandits, bro? They had the worst strategy ever.
No, they had
go in.
Just run it.
Let's do it again on the third day.
That's part of the reason why I love the ending so much, because it's not telling you that this is the final thing.
Right.
It's telling you that they have a chance. It's telling you that they actually fought for a chance and might very well get it.
I mean, the last line of the film, to me, it was so punchy where the leader of the samurais, I forget his name, but he says, "Oh, this wasn't a victory for us," or like this wasn't a win.
Yeah.
Like it's a win for them because
It's a win for the peasants.
Yeah, it's a win for the peasants because now they have hope and they're able to go back. But for us, we just lost four amazing men.
samurais. But it wasn't. Isn't that what war is? War is for whoever benefited from war. It's not for the warriors.
Yeah.
I mean, that's any war, right?
And like, I mean, you look at it and it, like, even when they're trying to recruit people, it's like, I'm asking you to help me for no glory, no honor, no money, no food. It's just like as long as you help, you'll be fed. But after that, I can't promise.
Such a dirty word.
There's no retirement.
But it sounds like a dirty word because of how much it's overused in cinema. But there's glory in this. You're almost doing this for glory. You're doing it to do the right thing. There's no payoff for something like this necessarily.
Honor almost.
In fact, a lot of this historically was based on people, samurais, genuine samurais, who were hired in exchange for food and lodging. They would protect small villages. This was an order from the kingdom. Go protect small villages, charge what you want, quote unquote. And most of them would just do it for food and lodging because they wanted to protect people. That's it. There was historically that's factual.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's there's so much to say when it comes to something like this. And again, in the era with a filmmaker like this who had already proven himself and fought tooth and nail to get this film made the way he needed to do it. So let's jump into all of that, but let's get into our ratings first.
Ratings. I'm still living with it, man. You guys watched it. I had it.
And then let's just go, I guess, rapid fire, right? So that way we can get more into...
I want to start with Austin, and then we'll just come around this way.
Austin, man. Tell me to fix my
Austin, man,
mic.
Oh, I didn't introduce you guys, but,
You know us by now.
well,
That's Carlos Estelo. I'm Castro.
We almost forgot our episodic tradition to say what we all love about Carlos.
why me? Jesus Christ. We changed it up
change
at
it,
one
bro.
episode
Change
to
it, bro.
Austin. So why aren't we going around
Let's
the
go
room?
with CK. What do we like
yeah.
about CK?
Okay.
CK.
Hey.
How does that feel?
Hello.
Okay, let's all say
I'm vain.
two things we hate about CK.
All right.
Oh, damn,
Hate
bro.
with everybody else.
Let's get
Your
personal.
glasses are so
You're too tall.
CK's the man. CK, have you guys been seeing the social media content? He's been doing fucking killing it. Hasn't he? You guys been seeing like
Thank
all these
you,
clips?
guys.
That's what you
One-man
hate
guy.
about it?
Getting
That's a
thousands
one-man
of
team.
plays on
Yeah.
these videos and shit. Like
Dude, no,
consistently
you're
the best thing, man.
you're amazing.
And then like there's people engaged. Thank you guys for engaging, man. Like
Dude,
we're getting all these
yes.
comments on people talking shit to me mostly, but
We have
it's
so
great.
much,
It's great.
especially on his wrong takes on track.
On track.
Oh, yeah, bro.
No, CK's been killing. Give it up
Yeah.
for CK. Give it up for CK.
Thank you guys. Thank you. Thank you.
I will
appreciate
say,
it.
there's a joy that comes now, like whenever I see the post that comes up on like the tower
too.
page.
Me too.
And it's like, ooh, I wonder what reel came
I
out.
wonder
like,
what he picked. Yeah, like what moment
exactly.
he picked. Yeah,
like
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like it's fun for us to do the episodes, and like I like re-listening to the whole conversation and everything. But yeah, having like the little highlight reels, like
Dude, yeah.
that's so fun.
That's so
You
Like,
good,
have no idea. There's so many times that I see some of us saying like the most fucked up stuff, and I'm like, I want to use that for social media so bad. But
You want to test the audience, right? Like how
Yeah.
much am I
yeah,
willing to
you
put out
gotta,
there?
you gotta play with the water.
He
Yeah,
told me
yeah.
the other day, he's like, because we came in for a meeting, and I was like, yo, that shit was the day the Shrek video was posted, and I keep getting all these comments, and I'm like, yo, what's up? Just making me look like an asshole, right? He's like, I'm throwing everybody under the bus, bro. You have no idea. Everybody's
fucked
gonna
at
get
one
thrown
point.
under the bus.
I like how me getting thrown under the bus was, yeah, I watched it with my mom. And then like Austin on TikTok like responded like, yeah, his mom has wonderful opinions. But I could feel the sass.
No.
And
But most recently, literally, the last reel was posted as of this recording is like you talking about a wholesome moment with her innocent Celestine. Like you get the wholesome, like, yeah, I love this cinema.
Yeah.
Because
yeah, I
great.
want a cozy hug of a movie. Like I'm just
this ain't
It's
a
been a
cozy
rough
hug
year.
of a movie. Austin rating 7 Samurai.
he is locked in right now.
Okay,
locked
okay.
in.
Real quick, 30 seconds. Thank you for joining us for the WatchTower Podcast. Subscribe,
yeah.
like, I am Mike Dello, cinematography perspective, John Eric Castro, actor perspective, Eric CK, producer, and Austin, man in the back. And we have our humble film servant,
With the
Carlos
best
M. De La
hairline.
Torre,
Ooh, hey, you
making
killed
sure that we're all
You killed that.
on track with good cinema.
All right, I appreciate it. I'll take it.
That was fun.
That was fun. You want me to go to CK, Austin? Or you got a rating?
What?
You got a
You
rating?
got a
7
rating?
Samurai?
Sorry.
You're good. You're good.
7 Samurai.
7 Samurai.
Rating.
A 7 for the 7.
I'm gonna be honest. I was distracted for I think at the beginning of the third act.
Yeah.
Just we gotta shoot
Producing.
this weekend and producing whatever.
Yeah.
I did. Are we doing this rapid fire? Or can I?
Yeah,
go?
Rapid fire.
And then we'll kind of
Okay. 9.2.
9.2.
Nice. All right, 8-9.
8.9. Wow.
8-9.
8-2.
8.2.
9.
9. I'm closer to like a 9.3.
Okay.
Comfortable at a 9.3 right now.
Thank you for tuning into the WatchTower Podcast. If you have any recommendations, shoot them our way.
Yeah.
We are on Spotify, YouTube, anywhere you get podcasts.
And as a matter of fact, as well, let us know what you think of 7 Samurai if you've
Yeah,
seen
yeah,
it
yeah.
before. If
Yeah.
we know we got
What's up?
people like John Gunn, whose fucking film library is magnificent. So please
Look,
let us know. Let
John
us know.
As long
Gunn?
as you
Fuck
disagree with
yeah.
Carlos,
Fuck yeah.
we're good with the comments.
No, that's all good. We welcome it. Please let us know. No, look, 7 Samurai is interesting. I think I'll be honest. I feel like I was gonna get more off the bat 9s or something like that. I will say, CK and I had already seen it. I think this was my 3rd time watching it. Kind of sporadically over the few years, but it is a big undertaking cinematically to kind of take in.
It's a lot to swallow.
It is.
Yeah.
A lot to process. Where my favorite kind of cinema, you just sit around for a few days and you're like, shh. You know,
Yes.
you're the one. Yeah.
I got an opinion.
You say it.
All right.
Go for it. You have the floor.
All right. Long time.
First time, long time.
First
Bad
time, long
start.
time. You know, I don't know if you have a perspective to help me kind of process this or chew this a little bit more. The feeling I have about this one is very, very similar to when we talked about the Apu trilogy.
Sure. Oh, absolutely.
I am
Absolutely.
it's
Is it the thing where you're like, and then I get this. I rewatching it this time. I was like, oh, it's that again, and I was worried that you guys would process it the way anybody should process it the first time. Is sure you're enthralled and you're engulfed in it, but you're also kind of like, I feel like I've seen this before because this is where it started.
No,
Like,
and
that's what the approach trilogy was. It's this, and that was between this film and Tokyo Story, by the way, to kind of go into Japanese cinema. But Tokyo Story felt more close to the Apu trilogy,
Yeah.
in terms of its simplicity, in terms of its like,
I think
this
it's
is pure
that.
cinema.
We're so spoiled
Yeah,
today.
exactly. Yeah.
With these stories that are in these little tight packages. And I mean, just to kind of peel back the curtain, like even when in your writing style, when you're trying to make a feature or make a film, and we talk to producers, they are so fixated on tighten it up, make it tighter, make every little scene as juicy and dense as possible, because then in a 90-minute picture, like you give it to audiences and they're able to soak up every little bit. And you get a lot of movies that feel like very dense and very like they chop off all the fat, which is great. Like the art form has modernized itself.
Yeah.
But when you go back to stuff like this, where the film genuinely lets itself breathe, and it lets moments play out, it lets actors have this almost full range to just have a natural reaction to a moment, a natural dialogue. And I say natural in a loose way because you see that these are very energetic performances. But it's not trying to force you to feel anything quick. You know, this movie, similar to the Apu trilogy, gives you the story, but then afterwards it just says, I just want you to chew on it.
And by the
process
way,
it.
that's what I love about foreign cinema. One of the best... you're going to hear me talk a lot about Scorsese specifically this month because that's who introduced me to foreign cinema. You know, what I did when I fell in love with Scorsese cinema is I was like, who inspired this dude? Like, I want to know who inspired him. I always go that route. And he has a list of 10 favorite films. And I don't even think Seven Samurai is necessarily in it. But what he does is when I started getting to Criterion, this is, by the way, just so you know how much of an influence this film is, we're going to talk a lot about that. But this is Criterion spine number 2. And if you don't know anything about Criterion, it's, you know, they're in the thousands now when it comes to spines. And they're very curated and they're very specific of what they allow into the Criterion collection. But spine number 2, that means this was the second film Criterion when they first started that said this one needs to be in the collection.
What's the first one?
I forget. I looked it up when we were watching the film, but I forget. It's another film. I forget. If we could Google it, that'd be great. But just Google Criterion spines and it'll give you a list. But this is number 2.
What am I looking for?
Criterion spines. Just Google Criterion spines and then see what the number 1 spot is. But the reason I say that, bring up Criterion, is because Scorsese has this thing called, and it's on the Criterion collection. Oh, Grand Illusion by Jean Renoir.
Oof, the 400 Blows.
400 Blows
That's
was
a good
like
one.
number 5. Yeah, I mean, again, all these like important pieces of cinema that this collection is like, oh, Francois Truffaut, yup. Fellini, yup. Fucking Kurosawa,
So
yup.
why is it 2?
I think it's because it's that important. I think it's because...
Also, the spine number isn't even like when it was released.
No, it is. It is. Like, it's the order of when it was released. So number 2 is like, oh, we need to do this one first. You know, this needs to go out to the world.
Beauty and the
Remember,
Beast.
Criterion... What's beautiful about Criterion is they're the ones who were releasing or re-releasing rather these films to the public when DVDs started coming out. In fact, VHSs and the Laserdiscs. Criterion has been around since Laserdisc. So they're the ones that are like, we can't let this shit die. We need to re-release it to the public. That's what Criterion is or was initially. So, and it still is, right? That's what it really is, having a streaming platform and everything. But Scorsese has this thing called the World Cinema Collection, and he has like 8 of these. And each collection of these are released through Criterion. He'll have like 8 films from places all over the world. He'll make selections, both modern and classic cinema from all over the world that nobody fucking pays attention to anymore. And that opened up my world a lot. So we even talked a little bit about this in the Apu trilogy. Scorsese says that when he first saw the Apu trilogy, it was his first depiction. Again, at the time, how else were you going to learn except through a book or a map on what the world looks like?
True.
Yeah. Cinema allows it to be a portal. So him watching the Apu trilogy, he's like, I had never seen India before, but I got to see India.
Okay.
And something like Seven Samurai, well, none of us will ever be able to see 16th century Japan, but through cinema we can. And not just, even documentary cinema can't really do that for you necessarily, but a recreation of a time and place that we can no longer obtain.
And a recreation from the people who give it the most reverence.
Yeah. Although everything historically is factual in Seven Samurai. Everything from, they used actual samurai guard. The haircuts were accurate to the
Dude,
to the era.
I gotta add, they were fresh as fuck.
What, that cul-de-sac haircut?
The cul-de-sac, you call the cul-de-sac, the reverse fade.
Fucking
I mean, everything. But everything historically to the era, to the point where every single character in Seven Samurai is based on an actual samurai in history.
That is sick.
Wow.
And
Damn, that's actually really
all
cool
the
to see all
research.
those personalities. Like even the main samurai, I guess like the number 2 samurai. The guy who was like a hothead, crazy
Yeah, yeah.
ass dude to see. to
Played
realize-
brilliantly by
What's his name?
Toshido
fucking-
Mifune. Can you scroll down?
Toshido.
His name is the GOAT.
Still has a cool name. Toshido.
Can we scroll down, Austin? I want to make sure I get this right. Yes.
Yeah.
Toshido Mifune. Toshido Mifune is notorious for Kurosawa films, but he's also just revered as one of the greatest Japanese actors of all time. He's phenomenal, and if he's like the only other place I've seen him in a few films, but Rashomon, Kurosawa's Rashomon, great.
Yeah.
Such a great performer.
And dude, Takashi Shimura. It looks
Yeah.
like he was the lead in Ikaru.
Yes.
Holy shit! Honestly, the first time watching this film, one of the coolest things, I mean, like one of the most biggest selling points on it was his leadership. The way that he
Yeah.
ran the samurai squad. And
Yeah.
the way that he ran the town. It was fucking
He was the
inspiring.
bravest, and
yeah.
the great thing about his character, well, at least like I'm gonna try to pronounce this right, Kikuchiyo.
Or I'm talking about Kembe Shimada.
I don't think he was the leader in this one.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
He was like the
Yeah, he was
Oh,
the
okay.
old one.
he's the dude with
The older one.
The one that, yeah.
with the thing on his head.
Oh yeah, with the eye mask or whatever.
The panties.
Oh, with the panties on his head.
Well, that's an interesting contrast. I want to talk. You'll talk about him. I'll talk about Toshido because Toshido was the bravest, despite the fact that he wasn't actually a samurai. So to be an actual samurai, you have to come from a lineage of samurai. Every other man came from a lineage of
Except
samurai,
this guy?
except him, and he was the bravest.
And what do you guys think of his over the top? Because it was over the top.
Yeah.
I liked it.
I think, and his character has inspired so much. Like that character of, I want to be more valuable than my lineage and everything it's given me. And I've seen it in like plenty of movies. I've seen it in a couple of animes where you can
Yeah,
directly see
animes
that
for
they're
sure.
recreating his character. But this story of somebody who's had a rough past, and though they were not born into a rich family, a strong family, they are willing to fight as hard as they
Right.
need to be
They have more
one
to
of them.
prove.
Yeah.
They have more to prove, right? And I love that you brought up that rough pass factor because it's so important to his character. And I promise, CK, we'll come back to Kembe's character. But
No, yeah, no rush. No rush.
I love the rough pass kind of situation because you see that so much. You see that when he's carrying the baby and he's saying, "This is me."
Yeah.
Because he lost his
Yes,
parents.
yeah.
He didn't have parents.
Yeah,
And he
it-
lost them at a young age.
And what an interesting way to bring that up, because I mean,
Yeah.
expositionally, it's like this character has always had that
Yeah.
with him.
Yeah.
Like as an actor, you're always carrying that notion
Yeah.
that your parents were on a farm
Right.
and they died, and you were just an orphan
Yeah.
at a very, very early age. So every action, I would assume that you do is motivated by that past, right?
You don't think it's a little bit influenced, like, or not influenced, but it's almost putting on a mask?
Sure. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's the facade.
Yeah.
The facade of
Yeah,
toughness.
he's-
the facade
Exactly.
to being like we see
Obviously,
this
if
still
anything-
to this day, right? Being tough from the streets.
Exactly.
You have to put on that.
Even if it hurts,
protective-
you're going to
that-
smile. You're going to act like nothing's happening.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Right?
That's
That's
when-
why
it's
he
super
gets
layered. It's super layered.
It's
like,
super layered.
I don't know if you guys caught these, but
'Cause I'm
like
glad
there was we made fun of it, but like for instance, when he's making the flag, the visual representation of the flag, and I don't even know that it's necessarily described too much in dialogue, but the circles. What do the circles represent?
the other samurais.
The true samurai,
The true
the
samurai.
ones that come from the true lineage. There's 6 of them. The triangle represents him. There's 6 circles, 1 triangle, and then the symbol at the bottom. The symbol at the bottom represents the farmers
But why is the triangle him?
because he's the only one who's not from true lineage of samurai. He comes from farmers. So the flag, that's what it represents. They're all on top this way in this order, traditionally the traditional way. Then him as the triangle, almost as like the last level of protection for the farmers, which are his people.
And visually, if you think about it,
Damn.
the
Cool.
samurais are refined
Yeah.
and trained. So they're these smooth shaped like the circles. And with him, though he's a strong warrior,
Yeah.
he's unrefined. That's why, like,
He's a
you
little
see
rough
it.
around the edges. Like,
Yeah,
He's just like a
But
bucket
he's
kind of
got
guy.
he's too he's got too many like edges to him.
Yeah.
To be seen by the other samurais as like an equal, but by the end, I mean,
Yeah.
it's this huge redemption.
No,
Or
and
not even a
at the
redemption,
same
but like
time, one of you guys brought up the Outpost. There's that Caleb Landry Jones's
I did.
character. that character. You guys remember we talked about this during the Outpost, where he was the guy with the chip on his shoulder. He was trying to constantly be the one protecting and prove something, and yeah. I think it's really interesting that way. But also
The one who was running ammo, right?
yeah, the one that was running ammo. Like
Yeah.
that's the guy that gets the redemption. He's an unlikable character to an extent. He's a very strong personality, and then he becomes the redeemable guy, right? But like even with Kikuchiyo's character, his name is made fun of by the rest of the samurai because in Japanese culture, what happened is he didn't know his name. That's how young he was abandoned.
Yeah.
That he didn't even know his own name. So he got that name from a little Japanese girl and just adopted it because he didn't know how else to process. It's like, I guess that's my name. I'll take that name. It's like the give me your John Hancock thing. He didn't know. Aside from all that, we also learned that he's illiterate.
Yeah.
Compared to these other guys, he literally can't read. So there's so much layer to this fucking character, man.
He's like Floyd Mayweather.
No, and I want to just like add. I want to add on to
To read a
that.
page from.
That's what the beauty of this film.
Yep.
Is the fact that like he's just one piece to
Exactly.
a huge tapestry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
And you could watch this film under the lens of I just want to look at Toshido's character and really analyze him. Like understand his motivations, understand where he's coming from.
You can focus on just him.
Yeah, and if you focus on just him, then the whole movie's about him, and it's so interesting, and they have such a complete arc for him.
Right.
But if you focus on any other character,
Kanbei Shimada, Takashi Shimura's character, another layered. He's an older samurai. He's the one that's the most experienced, the most trained. Volunteers to go out and find other samurai to come and protect. And everybody's like, "No, we'll go with you, dude. Like, we can't leave you alone." And
If anything, he's the dude that kind of like built the squad.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
And that's like his leadership.
yeah,
I don't know, dude. Every single time that I watch that film, I feel like, holy fuck.
you
this
watch
is-
him.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm studying that guy.
No,
Yeah.
and then if you focus on just his character,
Right.
the whole journey of like, I know it's not going to be easy, and I'm going to be honest with people. Like, you'd fight with me, you'd work with me, with no reward other than we'd feed you, and that's it. There's no glory or anything else to be gained. And then at the very end, he's like, sure, it's a victory for the peasants, but it's not for us.
No, he
Dude,
says one more line actually right before the peasants thing, where he's like, "We get to fight another day.
yeah.
We survive another day." Like that's
like-
massive for a warrior, right? Like job. What's the Kobe thing? Job finished.
Job's not done.
You're not smiling. Job finished.
Job finished. Like he's kind of like we got another day.
Yeah.
we got another day to fight, and that's
Because
Survival mode.
it's that realization that this is just one
Victory.
battle, but that's not the last bandit ever.
Yeah,
you
for
know,
sure,
that's not the last time that this village will be raided for its resources, and and that's where I feel like kind of like the Apu trilogy.
Sure.
It's just so rich in its characters and the actions. And if you put on any lens to look at any of these, or try to look at their like the hierarchy levels and how do we break that down, or look at like the cultural issues of like the whole I forgot what his character's name, but the young kid who joins the group.
Oh, and again, you see the film through his lens.
Yeah, look at
and
that.
love and war.
Katsushiro.
And, yeah.
Yeah, Katsushiro. And if you look at him and the whole idea of like, is him like, I don't know, hooking up with this girl, like for lack of a better term, does that make him less honorable? Does that make her less honorable? You know, and the whole dynamic there, the father being like, I would rather shave your head and prevent you from ever being touched. And
but what he said too was almost more focused on. Sure, he focuses on the whole damaged goods front, but almost more importantly, he says, "What is a farmer girl doing with a samurai?"
Yeah,
He's separating the levels
himself,
of the hierarchy
like
almost.
That's what was so cool. Is like this whole story. The theme of this whole story was farmers and samurais.
Yeah.
Like there is a hierarchy sense to that, and every single character tapped into that theme
Tradition.
in some way.
Yeah.
And that's the little shit that makes this whole place feel like more than just a town.
Right.
Like it feels like a big ass family that you want to protect.
Yeah.
like for lack of a better example at the moment, similar to like Django Unchained, Samuel L. Jackson's character, where you would think, oh, shouldn't he be more
Empathetic.
That's a good one.
Yeah, like shouldn't he be more on the side of like the blacks that are
his
being
race, yeah.
put into slavery and all that? But he's so
No, he's a house.
he's so mentally like trained to
there's a word for it, yeah.
believe in the status quo that he would rat out white people who are
Because of
trying
the
to.
privilege, because of the comfort that he gets
Yes,
on doing
and,
this.
and,
Lost in
and
the
similar to
sauce.
here, it's kind of like the farmers know their place, samurais know their place,
Yeah.
and we maintain the barrier.
And we have
you
to
know?
ask ourselves, right? I want to touch on this because we could go on and on about just the amazing character development that this does, and it does. You can watch this a million times and get a million different answers. That's what good cinema is. But I want to talk a little bit about the making of this film and kind of how it came to be because it blew my mind. I mean, we hear about stories like this and we're like, oh, that guy's full of shit. He's kind of pretentious. He got this out of that. Cool, I guess. And the other side of us fantasizes this filmmaker is like, oh, shit, I guess I got to go to that route. But what Akira Kurosawa did is the initial idea for Seven Samurai, and it's funny because it even had a different title. It was called Six Samurai. I'm not joking. While we're on the kind of Kikujiyo character, Toshido's character, he wasn't written. He wasn't in the script. They created these other six, and they were like, "This is interesting." Like these samurai that are getting built up by Takashi's character, and then they were like, well, "This is kind of boring. we need the dude. We need the dude to fire shit up. We need that guy, right,
bro?
So they decided to
need
write
that guy.
the Kikuchiyo character and say basically like since he had worked with Toshido Mifune before, he's like, we'll hand it to Toshido. Let's see what he does with this shit. And they wrote it that way. But even backtracking a little more, he wanted what Akira Kurosawa. If you guys don't know, this is like kind of blew my mind. Akira Kurosawa comes from a lineage of samurai, actually has heritage in samurai. So he's notorious for making a few samurai films, and Throne of Blood, which is inspired by Shakespeare play. But what I'm trying to get to is that Akira Kurosawa knows this world and wanted to explore this world a lot and has a vested interest in it bloodline-wise. But basically what he was trying to do with the initial concept is, what if we did a day in the life of a samurai? I want to see him eat breakfast. I want to see him get up. That's how the initial kickoff was. And then he's like, that feels like boring. Like,
it's interesting for us because we don't know what samurais are all
What is
about.
he, a YouTube vlogger?
Yeah, exactly, right? Like a documentarian, right? He's like, I don't know if I'm going to do that. Scrap that idea. Gave another idea to his co-writer and was like, let's kind of toss with this. Maybe it's a village fighting thing. Guy goes off, has complete freedom to write the first draft, comes back with a 500-page script. And then they're like, all right, now it's time to work. So what he did with two other co-writers was they go to a secluded area, and the rule was no visitors, no phones for 45 days.
Wow.
45 days they took to write this script.
Dude, that's how MMA fighters train, bro.
Right? Yeah.
Cut off
No
the
visits,
connection,
no phone calls, nothing. Like we're
dedication.
gonna go and write in silence, almost like
No
silence.
distractions,
No, we're gonna write for 45 days, and for 6 weeks, and that's how they came out with this, right? With Seven Samurai, and you think to yourself as a filmmaker, you're like, "Fuck, is that what you need to do?
Hey.
Do you have to go away for 6 months or whatever and write a script?" It's very interesting, but they come back with this, takes it to the studio. Mind you, at this point, Kurosawa was already kind of a renowned filmmaker. He had done Rashomon and a few other films that hit, that the studios really liked. And they give him a budget, they give him a set of days, just like any other studio. And he goes over 3 times the budget and the days. This thing took 145 days to shoot.
Third of a year.
145. Well, by the time they were done, time-wise, they took about a year to film this.
Wow.
Just
I
because
know
they
about
were-
months and years, bro. I don't know days, bro.
145 shooting days.
I don't know.
Right?
What is that in months, bro?
The budget.
That's like half a year. No.
The budget was $842,493.
Almost a mil.
What is that in inflation? Inflated now, right?
That's like 3, 4. Oh, that's 54. Maybe 6.
$84.
Oh, wait.
$84.
This is a budget that the studio was like panicked about. Was it the Toho?
That's all.
Yeah, Toho.
Toho Studios were simultaneously producing Godzilla. Okay, I think if I'm not mistaken, this at the time this was the 3rd most expensive Japanese film ever.
Wow.
Yeah. which again now translates to, let's see,
That is
about
crazy.
$10 million, about a $10 million
$10
film, which
$10
is
million
cheap for something like
film.
this. They're shooting against the elements.
Which is
Yeah.
funny because it was. Oh, never mind. I'm an idiot.
They're
Forgive me.
shoot- Yeah, they're shooting against the elements. They're shooting. This is so just like on the cinematography front, Delo. I want to get your take, obviously, but on the cinematography front, this was the first time, at least in Japanese cinema, officially, that they used multi cameras, 3 cameras.
Yeah.
For the action sequences, 3 cameras. For everything else, 2.
Okay.
I'm a big believer in that. I don't know why I like.
For the action series,
So you get the reactions, not a fake reaction.
almost more importantly, this was the first time cinematically that they used telephoto zoom lenses.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so on a cinematography front, something that stood out for me visually for this film is the way he's able to combine 2 elements that the audience needs to be thinking about in the same framings. Because what happens with telephoto lens compared to like a wide angle lens is you're compressing the image. So whatever's in the foreground and the background, they get put right next to each
And that's
other.
why I told you that split diopter effect without the split diopter lens.
The whole split diopter is it's trying to accomplish the same effect as a telephoto, but it gives you wider perspectives.
Sure.
That's kind of what it's doing. But with telephoto, as long as you're putting enough light into it and you shoot it sharp enough, you can get both your foreground and your background in focus. And we had a lot of those moments.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we had a ton of these moments, but you would have moments where in the foreground we're experiencing a fire, but in the background we're experiencing 2 lovers and them deciding, is the world really falling apart where this could be our last and only opportunity together?
You saw the funeral scene.
Yeah.
You see the samurai sword sticking out of the ground, and then you see those survivors right next to it, and you saw these.
You would always get these wonderful either juxtapositions or complementary images where there's always these 2. There's whatever's in the front, whatever's in the back, and the audience is left to look at that image and how do we connect it? Do we see a person in pain trying to hide themselves from somebody who's like looking strong in the back?
That's what a split diopter shot. I'll point out the very famous one that you and I always talk about in The Departed. The Matt Damon character looking towards camera, kind of trying to hide his identity from the girl. And the girl looking at him like not believing him. Who is this guy? Why is he talking to a guy with a laryngectomy or whatever? Like that's the kind of contrast, right?
Yeah.
And in this scenario, you really are left to process that.
And Kurosawa just was really, really keen in finding those moments, finding moments in the story where you could look at 2 elements and how do we combine them together where it's going to give you the most out of the story. Finding moments where, like, again, we would see in the telephoto, like you would have the guy holding the baby and then the building burning in the background. And because it's a telephoto and it's not just a wide shot, the building doesn't look like it's miles away from him. The building's right on
Compressed,
him.
yeah.
You almost feel like he feels the heat and the pain of the loss because that's what he went through. And that's such interesting cinematography. It's such interesting way to tell story because so many times this film didn't need to give you exposition to give you that emotional context. Like I would watch it probably 4 or 5 more times just to be able to get like a half of all the images that Kurosawa really wants you to like combine together.
Well, the fact that they shot in black and white too, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure this was for budget purposes, but they shot in black and white, 35 millimeter. And at a time where, at least in American cinema, you're using a lot of Technicolor.
Yeah.
Right? You're using a lot of, the 50s was musicals. And, you know, you're using a lot of Technicolor and you really want the world to see these bright colors. And Kurosawa said, no, this is a period piece. We want to just show the black and white of war, I think. What's the darkness and the lightness of these situations?
Yeah,
or
great choice.
What's important. I think shooting in black and white is so impressive for the
And
cinematography.
again, you know, they're shooting telephoto, but they're also shooting very far away from
they're
everything.
shooting Western wides.
Yeah, they're shooting Western
shooting
wides
Western
where
wides.
you see the large group of people going after all the horsemen that are coming into town and poking them with their sticks, and it's fun. And
I like that juxtaposition. By the way, I talked a little bit about the funeral scene, but that's a scene taken straight out of The Searchers.
Yes,
the funeral scene when John Wayne's character, his sister and brother-in-law die, and the funeral scene for them. It's taken straight out of that. and again, it's an intimate scene. It's not necessarily shot as a wide in something like this. It's using that telephoto, but the landscapes and you being like thrown into this village.
Yeah.
And I felt like I think you guys came to a point where you were like, wait, which side are we on? Like which one of these two? And I always felt, at least this is my third screening, I felt like I knew where I was in the village. I always felt like I knew where I was.
Oh, see, no, I didn't.
I got to that point this time. I probably didn't feel that way the first time I saw it, but now I felt like, okay, this is that long stretch of road where they're going to be coming into. The mountains are right here. Like I
was trying to figure it out.
That feeling comes from the fact that in the compositions, it wants. When he wants to create an emotional, metaphorical image, he'll put two things together.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he'll let these wide shots breathe, where it doesn't feel like they're trying to be over dramatic about a moment. They really say, let the violence or let the action sequences breathe, and then it's just this factual interpretation of like, this is the battle. You don't know who's winning, who's losing. You're just watching it all
unravel. Yeah, and by the way, Toho wanted Kurosawa to shoot this on soundstage.
Yeah,
they wanted him to like just shoot this in Tokyo. Like, we'll build the sets, and he was like, no, I need this to be on the peninsula. I need to see the water. I need to see the landscapes. I need to build the sets, and I need to burn them down. So no, we're gonna do this in the countryside. We're gonna do this on the peninsula. We're really gonna lean into this skid to the fact where like. Did a lot of dangerous shit on the Izu Peninsula in Shizuoka, Japan.
Yeah, I'm glad they shot on location, man.
Yeah.
You got to get that feel of Japan back in the 90s.
Yeah, no, Shizuoka is just...
It's just beautiful this time of year, right? I love that because, like, the Lala and I talk a lot about the cinematography and silence, and Scorsese's silence. And they shot right up against the water in this little hut for a lot of that. And it just does something, just
it authenticates it.
Yeah.
And I mean, watching this story play out, because they're there, because you see people slipping in the mud, the heroes and the villains and everybody, you never have this sense of it's fantasy. You feel the real and authentic texture of everybody is genuinely treading the line between life and death and losing everything they own and having everything
One
to
thing
gain,
I commented on, Augusto, before you give that point, I really love that in this film, on the story front and cinematically, everything from cinematography to the direction to the story and the script, I feel like I don't see it in cinema and war cinema. I'll call it war cinema a lot anymore. Maybe in like something like Saving Private Ryan, that in the terms of the war and the battles, we live day to day with these guys. We go and wake up in the morning with them, see what their trajectory is, see their training. At night, wake up, battle. At night, rest. Like, we go through the motions of understanding that this isn't just this one big battle that they're leading up to. It's not Gladiator or rather like Braveheart or
Avengers. Something more contemporary where every movie is leading up for that one big battle.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it.
This is like war. Like, no, this shit takes days for one small battle situation. And I love that. I really love that. I think that again, authenticates the film a little more. But, Gasser, you got a point.
No, I really want to let one of my favorite parts about this film is the ending. You guys know me that I don't like happy endings. And you can tell on this one it's not a sweet victory, but you just get to see... Like, they're witnessing what the war was, the loss.
It's a very honest ending.
Yeah. Exactly, right. And then that's my pet peeve about film. Sometimes you just have to go with the happy ending. No, man, you got to show the realness of it. Oh, yeah. And I think this ending just showed the true horrors of war, right? Battle, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, for sure.
And it's the true horrors of war mixed in with such a mixed emotion victory for the people fighting. Because let me see if I can find his name. Yeah. The young kid,
Katsushiro.
Katsushiro.
Yeah.
For Katsushiro, like his character, that whole like, where are the bandits? I need more bandits. And it's like, oh no, we killed them all.
Yeah.
And he's going through a mix of emotions because again, he
wants to get revenge in that moment for
the death of his.
Yeah. He wants to get revenge. Yeah. But we've seen his character go that early on, he wasn't able to kill and move on. It was still heavy for him and heavy for the farmers. And then later on, it's kind of like, oh, well, you won. But, you also had this weird relationship that kind of just popped up because you both thought you were going to die. And then now you're both alive. And
I heard an interview with Oliver Stone earlier today, and he's talking to Joe Rogan about his new book, but he's talking about Platoon. And if you guys don't know, Oliver Stone was in the war. Like, he went to fucking Vietnam and fought for some, like, 10 years or something. And he says, he's like, what's weird about that era of war for us is, like, before the Vietnam War, you never heard of PTSD. That didn't exist in terminology. That didn't exist amongst soldiers or amongst... You didn't... Yeah, we had a psych kind of doc or whatever, but you didn't hear about PTSD. So imagine in the 16th century when you're still
Holy shit.
I'm sorry, Katsushiro's characters, like...
They probably just...
Where they at? Like, who's next? Like, we're like... They're just, like, in the throes of war.
Back then, they were like,
Yeah,
oh, this guy just went crazy.
Because they had so many moments, and you feel it with them. Like, I mean, there's a sweet sincerity to their combat where when you see the fights happen, you really don't know who's gonna die next. You don't know who's going to survive. Like nothing. There's no certainty the entire way of the film. Yeah. Like, there's no, you genuinely, that's where I kind of talk about those beauty shots that you see in contemporary films, where they always make the hero look amazing and make him look great, so that way when they get even a little hurt, we emphasize that moment and all that. With this one, it's just very like, oh, we're all doing good. Wait, where's Tony?
Yeah.
Oh shit, like.
Yeah. And you see that, right? Like, again, even in modern war pictures or in something like the Avengers, we're so caught in the battle, and then we get the blow to the audience of like, oh shit, they found that body. Like, that came from here, man. That came from here, dude.
But I mean, in the current movies, music swells, close up. Tony Stark's like, I'm dying. Like,
here was just like
this
so
one,
raw.
it's so factual. The fact that like we even see Toshiro's character, where like he goes up to one of the bodies and he's like, "Hey, why aren't you fighting? Oh, you're dead," and then just kind of puts him back down.
In this book, it's a great book in the Criterion version of this. There's a retelling of the kind of the events of the film from Toshiro Mifune himself. And he says, he's like, he talks about this being his favorite character he's ever played in his career. He talks about this character being so unhinged. Now Kurosawa was like, let's see you do it, dude. I'm not going to direct you. You do whatever you want, basically. So he had such a freedom. But what he talks about is like, he's like, I'll have random people come to me on the street and be like, bro, you went bare ass. Like, you died bare ass. And he's like, come to think of it, he's like, I was just so caught up in the making of this film. Yeah, double cheeked up on a Tuesday.
For all 2 months.
But he was, again, there's so much about the making of the film, like even just the weather conditions. Let me give you guys an example. For the big battle scene, we see it's wet, we see it's muddy, you see people falling in the mud.
If anybody knows anything about Kurosawa, some shit's gonna go down when it's raining.
Well, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Aside from all of that, though, is like on the real weather conditions. That morning, they woke up to a bed of snow.
Oh, bro!
So
anybody knows
how do you get rid of snow fast? Water. You have to water it out.
Hot piss.
And it's fucking freezing. And the mud, it's so cold that the mud freezes. So like and they're in their fucking true form to the era sandals that they're just sticking their fucking feet in. So he's like, Toshiro's like, come to think of it now, maybe I should have made a different choice about how I died ass up or whatever. He's like, but at the time you're just in the film.
Yeah.
At the time you're in the story, so you're just like, you're gonna participate how you need to participate. A lot of this rolling around and doing this and that, he's like, it doesn't matter. Like he said, that's what I love about being an actor. He's like, I have the freedom to toss myself on the ground and really play up this role. He's like, and at the time of the interview, he's like, I'm 72 now. I'm about to go make my next picture with a director that's 75. And the director's trying to learn Japanese to communicate with me. I should have learned English to communicate with him. He's like, but my point is, I want to do this till I die. I want to do this till I die. He's like, so I'm 70 now. I'm gonna do this shit. And again, you
can tell he was built for it, man.
Bare ass for this, but he went into it, man.
He knocked it out the park, man. Like you said, you need those type of characters, and
and you need those types of actors, man. I was reading in the same thing where Toshiro Mifune says that his lucky break was this, man. He was in the war, and after getting out of the military, he basically reached out to a camera guy, a DP, in the industry. That he's like, hey man, I need a job. Maybe I can work for your camera team. Lug around some stuff.
But wait. How did he just come up with camera coming out of where? Was he interested in it? Or just
he just kind of thought I know a guy in the industry. Okay. Maybe I could work in that. as a camera guy.
Right.
For his team, and reaches out to him, and he's like, "Yeah, come on through." He's like, "Let me." So I just like now, right? He's like, "Can you write a thing about yourself, a resume, quote unquote, right? Talk about your experience, talk about what you do, what you want, whatever." So he turns this in, and then Toho decides, "I kind of want to. How about we have him act? Maybe we'll see if he's got something." And he auditions, and. They're about to kick him out. Like, they weren't fucking with him. And then Kurosawa himself comes in and he's like, let's make him an understudy for now. Let's just make him an understudy. Let's keep this guy around. So he's like, literally, Kurosawa saved my career, man. If he wouldn't have been like, maybe later there'll be something for this guy. Let's keep him around.
Something, bro.
Later, there was a labor strike. All the actors didn't want to work. So then they're like, you want to do it? Because these guys don't want to come to work. And he got his lucky break.
Wow.
As a lead. And then Kurosawa, for his following film, casted him as a lead. And then that was Toshiro Mifune's trajectory and his lucky break.
See, that's why I declined the SAG thing, bro.
It's
Keep my
crazy,
opportunities
man.
open,
It's
you know?
very crazy. But and again, this flourished a beautiful relationship between Toshiro Mifune and Akira Kurosawa.
Nice.
I didn't realize this till I rewatched this right now, but Akira Kurosawa works with a lot of the same actors, like as we talked about. But like in Akira and Rashomon, like a lot of these guys pop up in every single one of his fucking films. It's pretty great.
I also feel like it's you probably experienced it as a director. Once you're able to develop a good rapport, and you know that you can get a performance like that out of him.
Almost more than rapport, trust. Right?
Yeah.
You have to be able to
But
trust
also,
each other.
it's
like
just going to leak into your writing, right? It's going to be like, oh, I work with this guy. I know his...
Yep.
Oh, you know
I
what?
know his style. I know his strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
And then it becomes so much easier when you're trying to cast.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't have to go like, oh, I have to build
Yeah,
the
you
report.
know
I already know this guy.
exactly.
Yeah.
You know
It's a shorthand.
exactly what to get out of
Yeah,
a
the only
character.
thing I would say would be kind of like, is people... how do you say it? Oh, it's this guy again on this guy's film?
I don't
But
know.
I don't. But they
No, no,
probably
but
like the span of
No,
it.
I'll
or
tell you
something.
one thing. I've been noticing a weird trajectory lately in like Scorsese and De Niro's. I almost feel like those two don't fucking like each other anymore. And it's weird, dude. It's just
No,
weird.
but
They'll
with them
still-
and these sisters, well, no, I don't know about Casino and all those, but
Yeah,
I
but
feel like it's a big enough span in between.
Yeah. No, yeah. Well, I think that's what you need eventually.
Exactly,
It's like after
exactly.
a while, it's like, let's give each other a break. Let's go
Yeah.
explore other shit.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
And then they come back to him. But
Yeah, like I mean, you know, you see a lot with like Wes, where
Yeah.
he's God just recycles. He recycles everybody,
Yeah.
and then like maybe adds a sprinkle of like 3 or 4 new faces. But it really is
And
just
that's
No, it's
smart,
true.
you
And
know,
it
bringing
is,
the new
it is
face.
crazy, but I appreciate that. And you started realizing that. For me, it really is a trust thing. Like
Yeah.
just having your actors trust you in your process, and you trusting your
Absolutely.
actors that these are the guys you're going to lean on so much to really
And
bring
the
this
other way
picture.
around. You know, I'm an actor. I'm trusting you that I'm not going to look like a fool.
Yeah.
I'm trusting you directly.
Or if I do look like a fool, better come with a reason.
Exactly.
Be
It's a
service
two-way
the
street,
picture
man.
somehow. Yeah, phenomenal.
That's the beauty of it.
By the way, just before I'm not that we're wrapping up now or anything like that. I want to read something from this shit that really defines a lot. So
I
much
love
for
how
me.
Carlos is like, you guys aren't getting off easy. We're not wrapping up.
Oh no,
anything."
I don't know. You guys tell me runtime.
Bro,
we
we
forever
heard you
about this shit.
moaning throughout the whole film when you were reading that.
I was.
It
man.
was
I was
moaning.
Like,
there was some weird
I was
sounds.
catching up
Yeah.
on this.
I started
Yeah.
smelling weird for some reason.
Well, maybe
pages are
it'll
sticky.
kick off
And then
something
you
out.
smelled the lao for some reason.
I smelled him so much. Like he was like leaning
somebody
like
told me I
that.
smell good today.
Good.
I did.
I thought you said somebody liked your tone today.
They also liked my tone.
You
today.
were hanging out with your girlfriend today. I'm willing to bet she was the one that told you both of
Dude,
these
I got a
things.
whiff of the law this morning.
I gotta admit that Leo looks like he smells like coffee right now.
He does. He looks like coffee
Look
too.
at that. Yeah.
Hey, did we
You
all
look
say
like
something
a
we liked
hot
about
cup
CK
of
today
coffee,
or no?
brother.
We did.
You missed it.
Yeah, you
sorry.
missed it.
Yeah, no, it's okay. You're producing. I mean,
Yeah.
What is that supposed to mean? You think you're better than me?
No, what the fuck?
Hey, go find
I'm
him, go
saying
find
that
him,
you're
go find
doing you're doing a hard job.
I like your beanie.
I appreciate that. Actually, shout out to Benjamin Signs. Shout out to Ben
Oh, there you
Signs.
go.
I know the homie Daniel. He hooked my brother and myself up with these beanies for
All right.
one of
Nice.
his books.
Some free
There you go.
merch.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Hey,
Shout
look
out
out
to
for
Ben
the
Signs.
merch for Towercast. It's gonna
Hey.
be coming soon.
Yeah. No, it's great. Ben Signs is great El Paso artist,
Hell yeah.
author. Shout out.
What do you want to read?
Yeah.
I want to read this. I do want to read this. This
These
is
are always
from-
interesting. I love when you do this because
This is and this will probably open up another little pocket of conversation about it. But this book itself, it's obviously part of the criteria I'm kind of set, and It's called 8 Takes, Seven Samurai, 8 Takes, and it's 8 essays from different filmmakers, different film critics, and stuff like that to talk about,
sick.
you know. And I was showing a little bit of this to CK because he was the only other person who had seen it. So I was like, okay, you can read this because you've seen it. You're not missing out. But I want to read a section from. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's like a 3-page essay, but a tribute from Sidney Lumet. If you don't know who Sidney Lumet is, like kind of a film legend. You know, he directed 12 Angry Men, Fell Safe, stuff like that. But he also
he did Network, right?
No, maybe.
Was that because that's
Google it. I'm not sure about
No,
Network.
you didn't do
I feel
Network.
like Network was Sydney. There was another Sydney.
Sidney Portnier.
What am I
No,
looking?
no.
Network
Network.
feature film 1976, I believe.
Was it Lumet?
I'll bet you a coffee
Yeah,
then.
yeah.
It was Lumet.
Sidney Lumet.
There you go, Network.
Dude, I
You fuck
fucking
with
love that
Network.
movie. Oh,
Yeah.
I fuck with it heavy.
I have a more
Oh, it's a dude.
yeah.
Well, what's the name? Sydney.
Sydney,
Yeah.
bro. Let's go.
There's a few
Yeah.
boy Sydneys in cinema that we.
Oh yeah, Sidney Pollack.
You've never
Sidney
met
Pollack.
a
That's
female
what I was thinking of.
Ronald?
Sidney Pollack. Sidney Pollack did like Dog Day Afternoon and shit like that.
I'm sorry.
But,
I hear Sidney.
Wait, no.
Day
That was Sidney Lumet too?
Dog Day Afternoon?
Yeah.
Was it actually?
Bro, Sidney Lumet
Okay,
cooks.
yeah.
My
Well,
guy fucking cooks.
Again, I have, and you're right because I read this in the book. I have a more of a connection with Sidney Lumet through his book Making Movies. If you guys haven't seen Making Movies, it's a phenomenal book, especially if you're not in the film industry and you kind of just want to learn how everything works, like in its most simplistic level, but also learning from a very seasoned filmmaker. It's a great book to check out. But Sidney Lumet Making Movies. Anyway, Sidney Lumet wrote a bit of an excerpt for Kurosawa.
Oh, he did The Wiz.
He did do The Wiz.
Shit, look at this.
Yeah.
Oh, my, and
Serpico.
Serpico.
The
Wiz.
What a fucking guy.
You love Serpico, and
Oh yeah, bro.
yeah, I think my favorite must be
Fucking Al
Dog
Pacino.
Day Afternoon for sure.
Yeah.
Undercover cop.
That was me. Sorry, I was taking my shit up.
no,
Anyways,
sorry.
I just want to read a couple paragraphs of this thing that I thought was fascinating, and I didn't really realize that until now. I pointed it out while we were watching it, like, oh shit, look at this. But Sidney Lumet kicks off his essay about Seven Samurai with this, which I thought was phenomenal. He says, "Dust, period. Wind, period. Rain, period. Fire, period." He says, "The basic elements of nature are present in every Akira Kurosawa film." He says, "I always felt that the natural forces in his films are almost mocking the efforts of the human beings, which range from trying to scratch a living from the earth to holding onto a castle. Does this make his films pessimistic? Not for me. The whole point seems to me to be that this is the effort that defines nobility of behavior. It is the aspiration persisting against impossible odds that reveals human nature at its best." And I'll read the last paragraph of this because, like I said, he talks about this sentiment a lot more. But the last paragraph says, "Finally, after an agonizing victory, the sun pours its light onto the farmers, happily planting their crops, for probably the first time in their lives, led by the samurai. They have acted as a unit, put individualism aside, and won a basic battle for their future existence. But the 3 remaining samurai stand and look at the cost. There's no joy as the mounds of earth cover their dead comrades, just a deep sadness. And dust, wind, rain, fire."
Like a
Such a
circle.
beautiful bookend, but it's also basically saying like life is gonna life, and the 4
Yeah.
elements of the earth are gonna persist. And I was talking about like when we were screening it, I was like, "What the fuck is it with Kurosawa and forests?" You know, like Rashomon takes place almost entirely in a forest, and you have these things about ruins and castles, and again, just a really the connection of beauty and life and nature and how these all kind of mess with each other. But when you think about nature in films, what do you think about? You think about 2 things. You think about Nat Geo or whatever, and you
Yeah.
think about, oh, it's a disaster film. Twister. Oh shit, the elements are gonna they're gonna
2012.
Yeah.
they're gonna rebel and they're gonna go against the humans, and that's how life cleanses itself, and that's not necessarily what Kurosawa is trying to say here. Like at first you're like, oh shit, this is like a testament to humans. Can we fight against nature? Can we trick nature or whatever?
I also think that they're natural enemies,
Yeah.
but I mean, just as easily as like, look at farmer characters.
Yeah.
Just as easily as you can have a sunny day that can be beneficial
Yeah.
and be good for the crops and everything.
Yeah.
You could have days that are windy and
For
dusty
sure.
where the land's bare and the land's dry, and then it doesn't matter how hard you try, you can't grow anything
Right.
with what you have around you. That natural struggle
Yeah.
of getting through the day to day, regardless of the elements.
Right.
It's amazing to see like how everything's very dry the first 2 days they're fighting, and then the last day that's when the rain picks up, and it feels like we're already feeling like we're at a lull because we've lost people on the second day.
Right.
But then now we have to fight through the mud.
Yeah.
You even see Toshiro, his character, slipping as he's trying to like he's
battle. Just
take a
carrying the
swing.
anger of losing one of his friends and teammates in this whole battle, and then he's slipping around. He's so angry, but it wants to get the job done right, but has that whole challenge behind him.
Right.
Again, it's this neutral thing.
Yeah.
It's almost like you can't yell at the rain.
Yeah.
You can't yell at the sun. They just happen
good.
to.
They just have to.
That's good.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, part of human nature, since the inception of human nature, is war. And you can complain about it all you want. We can decide how wrong it is or not, but it's always
never
existed.
changes.
It never changes.
Yeah.
Can we talk about one scene that kind of like stuck with me and I don't
Yeah.
really know how to
Which one?
interpret it? It's when they finally catch one of the bandits, and it's the one that killed that old lady's son? Or who was it?
Yeah.
We don't see her get her revenge.
Yes. Well,
We see her coming
we
up.
see her come with like a rake, but like one of those where it's sharp and it's metal, and you know that the only thing on her mind is that she wants to kill this guy to gain revenge. To me, the way I interpreted it as the first sign of the villagers and the farmers being able to take control.
Active participants in this war, which is really a civil war, right? To an extent, they're the ones that are being trained to fight.
See, I'm barely learning all this because I saw an interview with Quentin Tarantino where he's talking about the Pulp Fiction, where he loves to leave the audience with their own interpretation. Like when he opens the briefcase and we don't know what's in the briefcase,
Right.
you get one interpretation, you get two interpretations. So when I saw this, I thought, like, how did she do it?
Yeah.
Whereas you guys are like, oh, they took control, but it's like, okay, but for me, it's like,
I
did
wouldn't
she
say they took
torture him?
control as much as they just become participants
Yeah.
of this. They're fighting
Because-
for their
Right,
for their-
Up till that
But
point,
it leaves you, like, she could have gone crazy.
No, no.
You don't know.
And up to that point, we just see that the villagers are like kind of cowering behind the samurais. After that moment that they feel like they can also participate in this battle to save themselves,
Right.
then the whole mentality switches amongst all the farmers and everything. I also feel that by us the audience not seeing her going and stabbing the guy, again, sensationalizing the violence.
Yeah, I know it's a silly example, but like, do you guys remember the first Avengers film?
Yeah.
And when they're in, I think it's Zurich, it's in Germany for sure. And Loki comes on and is like, bow to me.
Yeah.
And then that one old man
and
stands,
then one
up
stands
and
up.
he stays there and he's like,
you
why don't you
don't.
bow? You look at your elders, people, like he's doing something wrong. And he's like, no, because when we bow to people like you, something bad happens.
Yeah.
Like Hitler. You know, we're in Germany. This has happened before. It really much is that same vein when that one person stands up in the commoners almost. It's like people can be like, oh, yeah, you're right. We can't do that. Fuck.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we can do this.
No,
we
and
can fight back.
The only thing I was going to add to that is that by us not seeing her inflicting the
I thought it was
retribution,
brilliant.
right?
I thought it was brilliant.
Like the revenge. Then because you know what's coming, you see her holding it, you see her with the pain on her face of losing a son, and then walking out of frame, and people cheering her on, and even somebody says, "Go help her," and then the guy who's ready to go and kill this man, he jumps in, he's like, "Yeah, I'll help her." You know that.
Oh, you know what? If we're gonna interpret it anyway, I would
See,
probably
this is what I love because
I would probably also take that like, let me do that for you. You don't want this on your hands.
see, you already got
you
two
don't want
interpretations.
you don't want the blood on your hands. You don't want this in your conscience. Like, trust me. Let me take care of this. Like,
Yeah. Whereas my thing would be like, oh no, there's no morals, there's no nothing. You know, you lost everything. You're up.
It's
Go
also
for it.
not about it. This film, as much as there's death throughout it, it's not about death and it's not about murder. What it's about is life and protecting a way of life.
I like that.
And you see that like the villagers get that like one victory, but the camera focuses on the samurais because to
almost
them,
more importantly,
reaction.
a new way of life.
Yeah.
Right, because it's not protecting a life a way of life because they've never known freedom from this.
Yeah.
This is a tell's old as time for as far as I know.
Absolutely.
Hundreds of years, literally, of this era of Japan. But I'll even liken this to this. I think it's probably easier to digest if we put it in these terms. This film is notorious for inspiring 3 particular films. We already talked about The Magnificent Seven. Believe it or not, Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers.
And Avengers?
Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers is another one that's like hugely inspired by this. And last but not least, Pixar's A Bug's Life. I want to talk a little bit about that because that's more nature than anything, right? It's bugs and grasshoppers. And what's the normal order of things is for the fucking ants to build the food up and the grasshoppers, and they come take it and they pay tribute. So by the ants winning this time, winning the battle and beating the grasshoppers, completely new way of life. You just fucked with nature, right? You changed nature for the better, right? For their way of life, at least. This little corner of the world that they have.
Yeah.
It doesn't change the ants' destiny forever all over the world. No, it's just this little corner. That's what this is, right? This may not necessarily reach the other villagers that they can do the same for a while. But in the meantime, we protected our little corner of the world.
Yeah.
And we made a new way of life for our little corner of the world.
No, and I mean,
those little pockets really are the ripple effect for changing the world down the line.
And again, you feel a sense of
It's like that first brick.
Yeah.
You feel a sense of these 3 samurais that are left.
Yeah. Are going to tell this story almost.
They're gonna tell the story, but if they got another battle equally as big, equally as formidable, they might be able to win again because now there's a confidence with the villagers that are there. But you don't know if they're for sure going to win the next one. Like, like all of them are mortal. All of them came very close to dying.
Confidence just went up, but
one of the main ones is older.
It's just basically a matter of time before they get struck down.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's this very factual, neutral look. At least the way they make you look at it, so you're supposed to interpret it. But neutral look of. You're just supposed to see how this played out, and you can look at whoever you want to, but it tries to remain neutral. We're just interpret it as you want.
Yeah.
Think about where it's going to go, but that's
I think it may even be a commentary on the samurai itself, because it's similar to what you're saying, Gus. Like, we bring up the Avengers. The idea behind the Avengers, or like, I think it was Civil War, when you get to Civil War, Tony's position is like, what are you trying to do about the Avengers? He's like, I want to end the Avengers. I don't want the world to have to need the Avengers. And I think this may be a commentary on the way of the samurai. It's like, maybe we should get to a point where we don't need the samurai. Maybe we can build an army. Maybe people can start fighting for themselves. Maybe we protect the way of life. And eventually these samurai do die off. Eventually
it does happen. For sure.
It's a part of history.
That's why it was so important for the samurai to train the villagers in like feeling like they can get the victory. And at the very end, it's like they each won something from the battle.
That's what they
But at a cost of the people who were able to help them form that.
At the end, it's a beautiful shot.
Absolutely.
Any rating changes, guys?
Hold on, I like you always have a fun fact, a fun, interesting something
He
about
read
it.
There's so much.
I mean, there's
Just give me one, man, because I love these.
There's so much.
What's your favorite?
Oh, you know, I told you guys about this. I'll give a couple, but the first one being that because literally production was simultaneous in terms of like not just same year, but like literally same time frame. The cast, some of the cast, I forget which one. There's one of these cast members who was in like the sequels of Godzilla. But he turned down Godzilla because of his commitment to Seven Samurai. So he almost always regretted that. So he would wrap up set and go visit the Godzilla set.
I thought you were gonna tell me he was like a Marty McFly, like he was going one set and then going to the other one.
He couldn't. He had, but this film was so like grueling to make that he couldn't do that. The commitment was crazy. But I forget which one of the actors it was. But anyways, the point is he would do that, like almost like, I want to go visit the set. I'm not going to be a part of, but almost more importantly, Akira Kurosawa was friends with the director. So he would wrap set, and as a way to just burn off steam, they'd go visit the Godzilla set. And
That's crazy. Just watching this lizard over here.
It's pretty great. And they're both talking about a similar thing in terms of war and the consequences of war. And
absolutely.
All of that stuff. So it's very interesting.
Right here was Yoshio
Toshio, who do you play?
Frequently wandered off the set too.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, so he's in all the Godzilla sequels. He's in Yojimbo too.
He was Farmer Rikishi.
Okay, so he was in
Yeah,
High
I
and Low.
know
He was
he
in all the
is.
Kurosawa films.
Yeah.
But yeah, he says this production on the film began to wrap up. Actor Yoshiro Tsuchiya.
So that's how close they were. Just to wander off.
frequently wandered off set to observe the making of the original
That
Godzilla.
is- you never see that.
It's great, but that's a fun one. I mean,
big budget, I guess.
That's a big one. A lot for the filmmakers out there. Not even Kurosawa could get away from this. What would happen is that there's cool stories about the budget inflating, like ballooning on this shit. That they extended to 145 shooting days, tripled the budget of the film, and the studio was like, "Dude, fuck off. We're gonna shut you down." They shut him down twice.
Oh wow.
Both times he did two
He
things.
just jumped the fence or what?
He did two things. He would just go fishing. He'd go fishing and then just wait it out. And everybody's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" He's like, "They shut you down." He's like, "They've spent too much money on this thing. They're not going to shoot it down forever. Like, we're just going to wait." Kind of a cocky thing, right? But not really. He's not because he's Kurosawa, but because you already invested so
No,
much.
it's
Dude.
true.
What,
Yeah.
you're really going to
Yeah,
shut this
yeah.
thing down? The other side of that coin is that he would go to the board of Toho and was like, I need this to tell it authentically. At this point, they were like, "Dude, we're going bankrupt between these two films. You're part of the problem."
But this is part of our story. All right?
And they thought this thing was going to be a flop.
Yeah.
They thought Seven
even
Samurai
with
was
his
gonna,
with his credentials and everything.
yeah. I mean, because Seven Samurai, by the way, is the longest film that Kurosawa's ever done in his career.
Three and a
Sitting
half.
at 3 hours and 27 minutes. I think the original release was 207 minutes.
That's what I'm saying. It's a cinematic endurance test.
For sure, man. And again, this was his longest film. This was arguably, this is probably his most famous film.
It's the one
People know Kurosawa. They think Kurosawa. You think Seven Samurai.
immediately.
So again, this was the one that was really gonna make him, cement him in cinema in a sense. And these guys were like, "Dude, it's a period piece. Nobody's gonna give a shit." They thought it was gonna be a flop. And he had to go to the board and argue, like, "No, you don't understand. You've already invested so much. Just let me do this right."
Yeah.
So again, this was a good kind of precedent.
We got this guy that's gonna be cheeked up the whole film.
Yeah, you don't understand. It's geniuses and G strings. This is how we're gonna go about this.
We're going all in.
No, but yeah, there's so much in terms of the making this film that's just is revolutionary for cinema.
I love
on
it.
the
I
technical
love it.
stance, story stance. And
Yeah.
it really does just set the precedence. A lot of people obviously will follow the Joseph Campbell hero's journey, but then this
No, it's
takes
just
it
it's so expensive. And I mean,
expands it, yeah.
because there's so much going on with every character, and you can throw so many lenses on it.
Every
in
character
in
has
this
its own.
over 3 hour, 27-minute
Yeah.
film, it felt like I watched
with
like
with an intermission,
with an
5-minute
intermission, but it felt like I watched like 3 or 4 movies.
Yeah.
Because each one
because
had, you know,
every character has something to communicate.
you
Every
can tell they have their own
sequence-
little history, their own little struggles.
Yeah.
yeah, and
It just-
But
again,
still, come on, very universal. Though we're seeing a different culture and a different era.
Yeah.
You can connect with all of these
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
You know
The-
what
the
love,
whole,
loss, life, war feel like in some capacity.
In some capacity.
So it is a very universal thing.
Yeah, no. Like, I mean, for us, we don't have to understand everything about the way of the samurai to understand fighting for the little guy
Yeah.
and what it would take to sacrifice yourself
Yeah.
if it meant that they'll be okay.
For
and
sure.
that's
Very
it's a wonderful
universal
film.
topics, yeah.
I think I'll stay at a 9
You'll stay at
only
a 9.
because I need to really go and give this thing like 10 more watches genuinely before I feel like I can understand all the different lenses I want to
Sure,
see.
sure.
I can see so much merit in it. I love his composition and cinematography and Kurosawa's choices when it came to shots and composition, the telephoto lens, a lot of those dual shots.
Yeah.
But I definitely
You know that moving forward, I'm not going to call them the split diopters anymore. I'm going to call them the Kurosawas.
You can. I mean,
love it.
I feel like I see. I was even calling
Coin that
you.
phrase.
We've used split diopter because I was so obsessed with I know what they're doing with this. We should do this in our films, and we did. We used them for a couple films, specifically in the silent trilogy. We did, and then we used an actual split diopter lens or filter, split diopter filter, and now it's kind of like. Maybe we're gonna leave the filters. Use a fucking telephoto, and we frame it better. And
No, yeah.
we'll use
roll.
We'll do the Kurosawas. Yeah, I love it. Guys, rating changes.
Yeah, probably go up a little bit, man.
You
I'm
were at
glad
an
I
8.9,
watched
right? Or
It was 8.2.
8.3.
8.2.
I'll give it a solid 8.5.
8.5.
Yeah, I obviously have to give it 2 or 3 more watches, but after hearing all you guys, I think I missed a couple of things, but I really liked it. It's It said a lot. It said a lot.
For
like
sure.
you were saying, like it's not just one person. Like just the whole village. Each one has their own story behind
We
them.
could
You
spend
can tell,
this
like, you
whole
can-
episode or a whole episode on the performances alone.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
yeah,
It's
absolutely.
phenomenal.
So
Without a
yeah,
doubt.
yeah. For me, I'm a sucker for that.
CK, where you at? 8.9 was your initial.
I am debating on bumping it down an 8.7 or keeping it at an
What
8.9.
happened? What
Whoa.
happened?
Yeah.
Quick, what
So-
happened?
You a bitch.
Wow.
Yeah, who hurt you?
No.
By the
I wanna
way,
generally-
the
audience,
light hurt
the
us
light,
into
yeah,
yeah.
it just sucked my.
This is the real Tower After Dark.
Oh God.
I wish you guys could see this.
I can't see your hands though.
No,
They never could.
the influence was massive and it was really great. But the conversation just kind of made me realize that it did kind of target that specific audience. But the story is, well, the audience being the American audience. But the story is very fascinating. The way that it's told, everything, the way cinematography, acting, of course, that
Yeah.
takes a fucking. That and the blocking takes the scene every single time.
Shoosh.
But
Imagine how
that's
it's damn.
that's the only reason why I'm debating and keeping it an 8.9 instead of bumping it down an 8.7. But
I also feel like whenever we talk about older films, and because they inspire so
It
much
just
more,
feels bad, dude. It feels
Exactly.
because you think
Thank
you
you.
think this did nothing special, dude. It created
no,
this special.
it created it
Exactly.
but
That's-
also
I'm taking
because
myself.
of such a solid foundation.
Yeah.
Then we got things like, again, we're talking about like Star Wars and
Yeah.
Magnificent Seven and
Oh, dude.
Bugs Life, like all these great films that took directly from this, but
Yeah.
made something
I'm
arguably
telling
better.
you, dude.
you know?
I felt this
I
way
switched
after,
that when
the
I put- when I
trilogy,
see
after
these.
something like this. But almost more importantly, after I saw Tokyo Story in terms of Japanese cinema, I was like, at first I was like, this is what people are raving about? Like, this
Yeah.
is number 2 on the Sight and Sound poll? Like, what the fuck? What? I don't understand. And then I lived with it for a few days, and I'm like, oh, shit. That invented this shot. Oh, that invented how this performer was going to react in this way, and cinematically what it did. Holy shit! And then aside from that, you just live with.
Yeah.
These are characters.
See,
dude.
this is why I
These
love
are
watching it with you guys. If I would watch it like that by myself, I would thought the
Oh,
same thing.
Tokyo Story. And by the way, just FYI, in terms of Japanese cinema, while we're on this, there's top 2 Japanese films of all time, and you can go through any publication, Sight and Sound Japanese film lists from like Japanese audiences. You'll see the top 2 are Tokyo Story and Seven Samurai.
Yeah.
Always.
Wow.
Yeah,
So-
Seven Samurai for sure.
Always.
What about Godzilla?
Oh, I don't know.
Hey, quick,
You know,
quick,
76.
before we end, you know how some directors like to go to other other countries. Did he ever try to do anything?
Oh,
other
yeah,
than,
yeah. I mean, we were talking a little bit
Really?
about. I haven't forgotten about your rating change, Austin, or mine. So
Yeah,
we'll
my
get
bad,
to
my
that.
bad.
But I was talking to CK because I rewatched Rashomon because I'm writing a script that does something similar to Rashomon in terms of story and perspective.
Right.
And so I wanted to rewatch that. And
He dabbled in something
well,
that
I was telling
wasn't.
CK, I was like, Rashomon's probably my second favorite. And he's like, oh, Seven Samurai is your first? I was like, no, Dreams. And he's like, oh, it's because of Scorsese, because he's in it. He makes a cameo. And I was like, no, I mean, yeah, sure, that's great, right? But he plays Vincent Van Gogh. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But what Kurosawa did with color and expression, and he almost made a Fellini film in Japan,
Yeah.
and in France, actually. But it also, but he transports you between worlds in one film, and it's all meant to be like this big ass dream sequence in the arts, and it's just such a
Oh,
beautiful
I see.
picture. And it was one of his last pictures,
Right.
and even on the making front, this was the first film that the Film Foundation, Scorsese, Coppola, Spielberg, preserved. And aside from all of that, they bankrolled it. Because nobody
nice.
wanted to pay for a Kurosawa
Nice.
film because he was the old man making movies.
That's dope.
And they were like, what the fuck? This is Akira Kurosawa. Do you know who this is? Like, we'll pay for it. Fuck
yeah.
it. So they helped Kurosawa a lot to get the
That's
funding
crazy.
locked in for Dreams. So Dreams, for me, just has a lot to... But he made films, not necessarily in other languages per se, but he would dabble in just other types of cinema.
Interesting,
for sure.
interesting. I'm liking this director.
Yeah. Oh, Akira's just a genius. And Akira and Sayaji Ray loved each other, man. They always had
Oh,
great
yeah.
things to say about each other. I said in the Sayaji Ray in the Apu Trilogy episode that Akira Kurosawa says about Sayaji Ray, to not have seen a Sayaji Ray picture is to not have seen the sun or the moon.
Ooh,
And they will always
that's high
would talk to
praise.
each other about each other in that sense.
It's like being in prison, baby.
Yeah. Austin, any rating changes?
I'll go up to a 9.5.
9.5.
9.5.
Yeah, so
Oh, dude,
just,
we didn't get to talk about the editing and the wipes.
yeah.
Do you want to talk about that?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah, please.
I was gonna kind of bring it up with my rating change, just because like you guys brought it up that every modern filmmaker, even from like the 70s, talks about Kurosawa and
Yeah.
Seven Samurai, how it inspires so much, and you see it here in this film. just all the inspirations, like for example, Lucas's wipes and stuff that's taken from this. So
Yeah.
It even threw me into a little deep dive while watching it on how they used to do wipes back in film.
Yeah,
Wasn't
great.
even, they'd send it back to the lab and do like a cranking thing and overexpose the film and all this
That's
fun
fascinating.
stuff. Yeah, so stuff like that. But yeah, I'm up to a 9.5 solely for that because
Very cool. Yeah, the
viewing
editing.
viewing it, you do see that like.
Oh, dude, I don't know if you read this, but on the editing front, I want to talk to you about this. What Kurosawa did, he was one of the first, if not the first, to edit on set.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He would at night edit the rough
Oh,
cut.
wow.
Is that a choice or just
Yeah,
a need?
so he would
need?
basically say, "Do you know how much time editors and directors spend in post putting a rough cut together? No. Let me see what the film is doing. Let's cut it on a movie. It was a moviola. Let's
Yeah.
just see the moviola. Let's see the dailies. Let's see what it's doing." He was one of the first ones, and then specifically on this film,
I
at
don't know if
night
I'm
they would
with that.
edit. They
That's
would
pretty
edit on
cool.
set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty dope.
I feel like you're hurrying
fucking badass.
a masterpiece.
Yeah. It's again, dude. Kurosawa was just he knew what he was
interesting.
doing, man. He knew how to innovate too, and it's great. But yeah,
Absolutely.
9.5.
Yeah, it's up to 9.5 just for that.
Yeah.
And for you?
I'll stay at a 9.3. I think what I love about Kurosawa is that for me he was. I'm starting to appreciate this a lot more. I was talking to you guys a little bit about Mickey 17 and how Bong Joon-ho did something. I have no other way to describe it other than they're Spielberging it. They're bringing epic cinema back to the movie theaters for everybody to enjoy. They're not trying to make a niche art film or something that's only going to live on the Criterion channel. They want people back in the theaters. And I think Seven Samurai sits in that category. It's like Saving Private Ryan. It's like, well, this is going to be a serious film about serious topics, very grounded, with real characters. We're going to make these action sequences. We're going to make it so interesting.
Yeah.
We're going to make it dramatic. It's going to have everything. And that's not easy to do. That's why Spielberg is a household name, because his films are for everybody. And I was even rewatching The Color Purple the other day because it was on cable, and I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Like, Spielberg can do anything, you know? I'm having a more appreciation for that, because as much as I love the character pieces and the Wong Kar-wais and the Bong Joon-ho's and even Bong Joon-ho, again, when Mickey 17 was like, let's take it back to the theaters and have some fun. Let's just take it back to the theaters and have some fun, but still make a layered film. I think Akira Kurosawa for his era was the Spielberg of his era. Nice. He was going to take a film, make it universal, make it palatable, for everybody, and that's not easy to do. So I'm growing more of an appreciation for that. This isn't quote unquote my cup of tea in terms of cinema, so that's why I stay at a 9.3. But damn it, if it wasn't an amazing film that proved to be influential for cinema down the line. So.
What's next on our...
I'm glad we kicked off with Akira Kurosawa, Seven Samurai. Let us know your thoughts.
Thank you for sticking around.
Did we kick off with a bang? Did we feel good about kicking off with Seven Samurai?
absolutely.
100%,
Cool.
man.
Let us know what you think. Did we kick off great? Seven Samurai. Let us know what you think about the
have to
film.
watch this film, man.
Next on the list. Can I get the list? I'm sorry. I just don't know what I picked because I had like 10 choices. I literally had a serious conversation with these guys. I'm like, guys, what do you want to see? Because I'm like,
No, I like, you know,
yeah.
I don't think it's hard for us to trust you in picking a film.
Below that.
I
we're
can
about to sign
read.
So we got next on the list. Yeah, for sure. I want to stick with that choice. I think. Am I going to regret
Next on the
this?
list.
Next on the list, we're going to go into something a little more obscure, or at
Ashes
least
and
like
Diamonds.
something I feel. Wow, thanks, dude.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was
Sick.
reading.
Wow.
A little more obscure. We're going to go into Polish cinema. It's a war picture too, actually, which is interesting. We're kind of going to dabble back into that world a little bit. We're going to talk about Andrei
The Giant?
Tarkovsky, Andrei something. Ashes and Diamonds.
Wait, Andre 3000 is
Andre
in Ash?
3000 directed
Andre
Ashes and Diamonds.
3000, damn. You mean the guy who apologized to Miss Jackson?
That's the one. One of the guys.
Whoa.
Andre
Well, he's
Wajda.
for real.
Andre
He's
Wajda.
for real.
He directed Ashes and Diamonds, Polish filmmaker. I really love this film. Again, it's another one that I feel grounded in this harsh reality of war and love and crime. But it has so much to say, and it's stylistically such a beautiful picture, and it's so great. This is on one of the Scorsese top 10 films of all time, like for him, like one of his top 10 favorites. And I screened it, and I just thought it was phenomenal. And I think it has everything. It does so much for cinematography. He does so much for acting. I think, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I think Gasta's
Speaking of
going to
so much
love
for
these
acting.
performances more than probably any of the picks. I think Ashes and Diamonds is going to do something special on the editing front. Everything.
Fucked on
So
my back,
I
my
want
neck.
to talk about Ashes and Diamonds. We're going to talk about Ashes and Diamonds on the next episode. After that, we're going to go into some other films. And then to wrap up our foreign month, we're actually going to have a special guest on the podcast. We're going to have Chuck Horak, fellow film critic, film producer.
Oh, yeah.
Cinephile. I mean, it's going to be a great episode. So stick around for that. I haven't quite chosen what we're going to do after Ashes and Diamonds. I'll announce that.
Please do.
Fuck it. I think we got a good list.
Yeah.
Right now, we're thinking of doing Breathless to get into some French New Wave. French New Wave is super important.
Let us know
love it.
down below.
You
Yeah,
want
what
to
do you guys
start with
think?
like French old wave, maybe?
French Old Wave, would be interesting, except it doesn't exist. No, but again, I struggled with this list because I was like, I want to talk about Italian neorealism so bad, and then I realized
It's 'cause
we've
there's-
talked about Fellini, we've talked about 8.5, so let me.
There's just a world of films.
Yes, it's just
And
so
being
open.
introduced to these, you got to be careful.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to curate a list that had everything, and I think this.
But
is
I'm
it.
glad
So,
we kicked off with a bang
Yeah.
because this was amazing.
great,
So,
awesome.
yeah.
I'm glad you guys
I'm
liked it.
excited
Was this everybody's first Kurosawa film? Like, has anybody
guess so,
seen
yeah.
any other?
Yeah.
For sure.
That's a great way to start on a
I
Kurosawa
mean, I read a lot
track.
about them, but yeah.
You, CK?
Yeah.
Seven Samurai was your first?
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's great. I think it was my first too. Ever. Like, well, before. But,
Yeah.
and then Dreams, I think was my second one. Don't do Dreams
wow.
next.
Everybody remembers their first.
Dreams is heavy, yeah.
We
Dreams
just
is heavy.
popped our Kurosawa cherry.
Do like Hidden Fortress or Rashomon. Anyways, we'll talk about Ashes and Diamonds next week, then Breathless after that, and then we'll get into Chuck's pick, who he hasn't told me what it is yet.
for
So
sticking
it'll be great.
around.
Thank you guys for sticking around. Let us know what you think about foreign cinema and international cinema and that
Don't
type
be
of thing.
scared. Just type it.
And then we'll announce a little later what we're going to do for next month. It's going to be very exciting. We're getting into a whole new series. Thank you guys for tuning into the WatchTower Film Podcast. Good night.
Love you
Thank you,
guys.
everybody.